Hello and
Thank
welcome
you.
everyone in another episode of Researcher Celebrity. Today we are honored to have Professor Felix Bast with us, and Professor Felix has done his masters and PhD from Japan, and then he came back to India to serve the society, where he is at Central University of Punjab in Bathinda for over a decade. And thank you. We would like to welcome Professor Felix for this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Raja, for having me here. It's my privilege.
Yeah. So, sir, the first thing what we would like to say about you to all of my viewers is like mentor is someone who shares their knowledge and experience to inspire others to reach their goal. And Professor Felix is a perfect example of that. He is known for not only for his science but for his initiatives for undertaking any so many mentorship programs and curiosity series so much. We are truly delighted to have you. So the conversation have a specific out structure, and the first question what we were asked always all of our researcher celebrities is like how and when you decided that you want to be a researcher.
Yes. So coming to that question, so basically, I was born in Kerala in what should I say, in a normal family, right? I went to a government school, and then over the period in school, the kind of books that I read, in Kerala there is a very good popular science movement called Kerala Shastra Sahitya Parishad. Okay, so I used to read their books. My father used to bring the books and journals, basically magazines targeted to the school students in Malayalam.
Mhm,
So those publications are my mentor,
mhm,
and my father also, of course, he was a teacher and a part-time priest in temple. So I had a several interesting debates with him. Of course, he was open for debates. So I
mhm,
used to talk to him like, if the prayer works, then why you need to prepare for the exam? You know,
mhm,
and if the prayer works, then why should I go to a hospital to get treated? You can simply pray to treat yourself, right?
mhm,
Or he himself was a practitioner of astrology. Post retirement, he had an astrology shop,
mhm,
astrologer. He was a professional astrologer.
mhm,
So I asked him if astrology works, then why government of India has something called Indian Meteorological Department (IMD) for weather predictions and so and so on. I mean, debates are debates, isn't it?
mhm,
So right from the childhood, I had this passion towards science.
mhm,
So that is what the science as in is not really the research or subject. Science is subject now. My kind of science is that learning from failures and a logical and rational thinking. So the scientific thinking is kind of a lifestyle choice. That
mhm,
is how I define it.
mhm,
Something like learning from failures,
mhm.
right? So unless you learn something from the failures, there is no progress. If you are being taught a textbook which is written, let us say, 10 centuries back,
Mhm,
or even 1 century back,
mhm,
it's good for nothing really, right? So science progresses. So everybody has to be progressive for to keep up to date with what is going on in the world. Yeah.
mhm,
So I decided to pursue the sciences, and it's natural. It's like an instinct.
mhm,
Then I went to Madras University for doing my masters, and the Madras University Cassin Botany is famous for algae. There are a lot of algae groups working on it.
mhm,
And then I realized that algae is a field where not many people are really working apart from
mhm,
Madras team. So then I thought, like, why not? Because of the tremendous significance algae play in all of our lives. For instance, every in every three breaths that we take, two breath comes from ocean.
yes,
How many of you know it? So that's something very, very interesting.
mhm,
And then I decided, yes, let's pursue this algae. Then I went for an internship in NCBS. I worked with Professor Matthew,
mhm,
and yes, so Matthew was working with again with the microalgae, and then I was doing my PhD in IIT Bombay, and then I quit because I got a better offer from Japan and much more interesting project on algal taxonomy and Japan is one of the top countries for psychological research, especially life cycle based studies. So yeah, that's a nutshell how I am. Yeah.
Nice. That was very like in very crisp, like how you decided. And so when you were doing your PhD in Japan, you have already tasted the research background of India. You were in IIT Madras. So that is the elite you have already tasted. So how different was Japan from India in terms of research?
Yes, so well, there's a small correction, not IIT Madras. I was in IIT Bombay. Well,
Okay.
IIT Bombay is a well-funded institute, and I was also in Madras University. So comparatively, Madras University is so much less funded. So that is, it's like a poles apart. Even today is the same case. IITs and IISc are so much funded, but state university in India is, it's struggling literally.
Mhm.
But ironically, all Nobel Prize winners India ever produced are from universities, you
Mhm.
know. And yes, so Calcutta and Madras University, or even MS University in Vadodara, right? Venki is from that university. So IIT and IISc, even nowadays, ICER, so much well funded. Now coming to Japan, so Japan, I was there for 5 years,
Mhm.
and then I was also in different many places. It was like an exchange program with the University of Washington,
Mhm.
and also recently I was in Germany too, sabbatical. So if you compare these countries, of course, every work culture is different, right? In Japan, the work culture is, as the saying goes, they are workaholic, isn't
Yeah.
it? So if you do not go there on Sundays,
Mhm.
right? In case a Sunday your supervisor comes, then that is deemed as kind of not a good behavior, you
Mhm.
know so that much is the work pressure in Japan, so
Mhm.
which is not good if I think back in time. Yeah, so but Japanese, when they work, they really work, they are focused, they do work,
Mhm.
in a time bound manner. It's not that they really you have to go early in the morning and come back late in the night. No, it doesn't matter really, but the work has to be focused. That is one aspect of the Japanese lab culture. And of
Mhm.
course the Japanese culture, as you know, it is like it's extremely cautious for the time,
Mhm.
right? Especially appointments. So they never want to go even a few seconds delayed to the appointed time, right? So yeah, that is how the Japanese, the lab works.
Mhm.
And yes, so yeah,
So
that is. I think that I answered your question.
yeah. So when now you just took it to another level when you said that you visited Germany and then States. So you had an experience of around the globe.
Yeah.
Not only, not only in terms of research, but about the cultural effects also. And because Empowering Science Foundation work towards strengthening the science, the researchers in India.
Yeah.
So, what you, how you summarize all these different cultural as well as research aspects of abroad, like outside India, that if a researcher is thinking of pursuing PhD in India as well as abroad and moving out of India after their PhD, because this is a very brave decision, I would say, and we are fortunate enough to have you at Central University of Punjab in Bhatinda. Like, I'm sure you had tons of offers to do and join so many places, and you still chose to be in a Central University and especially said so many comments and questions about things. Now if a person from a rural background wants to do a PhD, what they should consider first, and if they have a plan or they might not have a plan to go abroad, how should they streamline their thoughts?
Okay, so well, that's a very complicated question. Lots of questions there. You start from Germany,
Right.
Japan, all the differences, right? So coming first to your last question about like going abroad or should I do the PhD right here in India? Well, it all depends on your life perspective. But I just want to tell you one thing, that travel is amazing opportunity, so it let you learn a new language, it let you experience a new culture altogether. So
Mm-hmm.
if you ever get an option to travel to do the PhD abroad, accept it. It's such a wonderful avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so going abroad for doing PhD, as a person, if I were the person, I will definitely accept. I accepted it. There is the reason for it. Travel is the best cure for racism. Mark Twain famously said.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so traveling allow you to actually see it and experience the completely different culture. Like in Japan, even I mean, you cannot even speak English there, right? Right from the day one, I have to pick up Japanese, and I went for 1 year intensive Japanese language program, and
Mm-hmm.
I wrote my thesis in Japanese.
Wow.
So even day-to-day conversation with my sensei, my teacher, was in Japanese. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is an amazing experience. At the same time, if you go abroad for the PhD, you will miss out something also, right? In India, like when I went for the interview, and after working here for 12 years,
Mm-hmm.
I knew that most of the interviews there is a lot of lobby, you
Yes.
know and mostly the interview panel members, in case the panel member is your supervisor or
Mm-hmm.
a friend of your supervisor, there's a very high chance
Yes.
that the person has some connection with your supervisor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then there is your likelihood of getting accepted is extremely high.
Yes.
You know, so that is something which I lack. My supervisor, though he is very famous in Japan, no one knows him. And there, it doesn't matter. So yes, so some people say like more than your degree or mark, handshake matter to get a good job,
Mm-hmm.
right? So yes, so but of course it matters. But going abroad for PhD, I think it's a life-changing experience that has completely changed who I am today. You
Okay.
know, so my life perspective has changed. Everything has changed,
Mm-hmm.
and of course I'm also coming from rural background,
Mm-hmm.
and going abroad, forget abroad, even a plane.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought I can ever board a plane in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Then, of course, I applied, and what I did is I applied for this Manbuga Gaku Show Fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a MSc student watching this program, check it out. There are several government scholarship schemes to go abroad,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to take GRE or TOEFL or IELTS or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Just a few clicks of online application, and then of course the Ministry of Education, Government of India, called me for the interview.
Mm-hmm.
So it is basically the Government of India nominates 30 Indians from different field to the Japanese embassy
Mm-hmm.
for this program. And then I got the letter from the Japanese embassy of selection, you know
Mm-hmm.
and then again, it is completely free. In the case that I for flight ticket was free, and when I landed in Narita airport in Tokyo, I was, to my surprise, there was a person to receive me there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the lady gave me a small envelope containing 2 months of fellowship in addition. It's like a bonus
Mm-hmm.
for allowing me to establish there. So I will never forget that experience in my life. They later said that it's because you are from India and you are not from Japan, and also you are a student. We don't expect you to bring any money to Japan. You
Okay.
know, that is amazing, isn't it? So that was my first flight,
Mm-hmm.
and within few months, I had sufficient savings,
Mm-hmm.
and I called my parents,
Mm-hmm.
and they joined me in Japan.
Nice.
So it's the first time ever their flight in their life,
Mm-hmm.
and it was basically Bombay to Tokyo flight, international flight.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so that's very interesting. Of course, you can, there are a lot of benefits of going abroad, but there are something which you have to be concerned as well. But
Mm-hmm.
I think at the end, going abroad for a PhD is worth. Yeah.
Okay. So, like you have touched a very, I'll say a very crucial part because there is a debate going on in India. right now. Like there are so many PhD pass outs. Couple of them have spent their half of their life post their PhD, like they are ad hocs. They are not able to secure a permanent position, and this dilemma of getting a permanent or not, like shreds of so many brilliant minds who can be a great teacher, but just because of some or the other financial constraints, they just join either industry or they are doing something which they don't want to. Like if given choice, they are ready to compromise on money, but to be a professor so that they can contribute their due share to the society, because they feel that they have their responsibilities towards society, which they are not able to do when they are joining a company or in an industry, because there it comes with its all pros and cons. So when you see, because obviously your friends, you have a way wide a circle of people who you know, your acquaintances, your friends working in different places. How do you see that when people feel that they are stuck in something which they don't want to do, but they have to do?
Yeah, well, if they're stuck like that, of course, take every failure as learning opportunity, right? And mostly people have this mentality that a government job is the best job, everywhere in India, whatever be the government job. That is why the PhDs are like struggling for a peon job and all. I have seen that in the news coming up again and again. So, I think you should actually keep your options wide open,
Yes.
including taking up a new course and, equipping yourself with the new skills,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And yeah, so when I read your first mail about, this entire series is about following one's passion is a bliss.
Yes.
Right, and I was looking up that that caught my attention. I have written extensively about this following the passion,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, I recently wrote this book. This is called the Life Skills, which is available
Yes,
in Amazon
absolutely. Yeah.
everywhere. So following passion is not a good advice. It's
Mm-hmm.
a cliche. Everybody say, okay, follow your dream, follow your passion. But
Mm-hmm.
the problem with that following one's passion is that no one is really clear about their passion.
Yes.
For example, travel. I
Mm-hmm.
love traveling. I love to go to hiking, traveling, like unexplored places. So if I say, well, travel is my passion, so how about money then? To travel, it need money, right? And is my need to travel is what the world needs? Not at all. Traveling is tremendously bad for the environment. Carbon footprint of a intercontinental flight is tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why the passion, so if you're simply passionate,
Mm-hmm.
that is not the right way. The power of positive thinking, oh, blah, blah. I never follow that advice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just positive thinking, but it's better to be via negativa. Remove the nonsense from your life,
Yes.
like time suckers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there is no point. Or, for example, smoking and alcoholism is
Mm-hmm.
injurious to the life. Everybody knows it, and still they have other resolution. That is not the priority. You know, uh, chalta hai. That attitude. I think that we really have to change that attitude. Simply dreaming doesn't work. We
Yes.
have to act on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that is yeah, that is actually what I my one piece of advice to the youngsters who is actually watching this. And in case you are in a kind of a situation where you think about, uh, did I make a good choice of doing this PhD or pursuing in the basic sciences? No problem at all. A little bit of self-doubt means that you are a smart person. Dunning-Kruger syndrome means, if you're overconfident, chances are high that you're not at all a good person. I mean, you're not smart, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so equip yourself with the
Mm-hmm.
new skills and then explore wide open, right? For one, a simple example is that 10 years back, If a person desire, okay, goal setting, for example, another thing which I completely criticize. Of course, you can have goals, a life goal, and also a little bit like 1 year from now, what I want to be. That is fine.
Yes.
But if you say like when as a youngster, if they say that okay, I want to become a doctor or engineer, you see that the coaching fever is everywhere, isn't it?
Yes.
So you cannot achieve some goals, and what how talented you are in that. All these are I think it's really important. 10 years back, for example, a student pursuing shorthand, shorthand had got a good value.
Yes.
And or Morse code, 20 years back, Morse code, fantastic Morse code for enabling you to become a telegram operator. Morse code is now officially gone. It is retired. It has become obsolete. So there is no point in having that course now, right? And those, I mean, I'm thinking about those students who choose Morse code, for their studies. So that skill is outdated.
Yes.
So there is no point in thinking, vexing about the past, right? Think about the future and how to enable, how to future proof. Again, it's a cliche, but yeah. So we have to think about what to do next, and also industry job or the private sector. There is nothing wrong with that. It's absolutely fine. Not just academia is it's like a paradise.
Yeah.
There is a struggle everywhere. Even in academia, there is a huge struggle on your journey towards, towards the hem of your career, right? So, yeah. And also the new government, the UGC, in here in India, there is a new rule that a student without any, paper, right? The research paper, peer-reviewed paper can submit the PhD. I really like it in several lines. That change is well accepted. For example, if you're in Germany, well, I didn't say my experience in Germany. If you compare the culture, Japan and Germany, in a nutshell, Germans don't work too much, right? They work very less. Friday afternoon, the institute where I work, the Leibniz Institute, was completely closed.
Yes.
And Saturday, Sunday is all for family and all for outing.
Yes.
So the Germans don't work too hard, but when they work, they're focused.
Yes.
Right? And yes, so in Germany, for example, if you're in a Max Planck Institute, for example, after 3 years without a PhD, without any single paper, you can submit PhD, no problem. UK, there is no problem. But here in India, we insist that you need a paper in international peer-reviewed journal. Come on, why do you have to insist on it?
Yes.
And also many Indians believe that the Indian journals are not good. We need international journal. That means European or Japanese or American journals, right? That mindset we need to change. Why you have to think that we are inferior to them? Right. So that is, I mean, just for the sake of international journal, people publish in really predatory journal published from other countries. Journals like Current Science, which is completely Indian, has a standard, though its impact factor is very low. But still, to get a paper in Current Science, it takes a lot more effort than to get a paper in, many of the foreign journals which I know. So that mindset, we really have to change it.
Absolutely.
And also that, yes, the peer pressure for getting a publication during the PhD, that has been a case for many years, last many years. I think that is one of the major drive for for these students as well as their supervisor to look for a faster publication by paying into the predatory journal. So I think that, and also to forge the data, much bad crime, this data manipulation. Even premier institutes have come into this, data manipulation scandals.
Yes.
So I think this new regulation will definitely help to curb those issues. Yeah.
Nice. That was a very insightful, very deep insight of the present situation of the research in India. But how do you see that taking this publication thing out? Because obviously, what we know is like And what is known in research is publication is your currency. The more publication you have, like, means the more rich you are or more prosperous you are. When we are taking this thing out, obviously this is very good for a student, because now there is no pressure. Now they are just doing what they really like it. They are
Yeah.
interested in their question. They are trying, and they are ready to work whatever it takes without this extra pressure. It doesn't mean that once they have results, everybody wants to publish it. So that is just a win-win situation. Whatever you have, then just publish it. Where now, when you were a student at one point, now you had so many students which have done, PhD under you, mentorship, you have mentored. What is the difference you see now? Because this is a very recent change, so it's not very long, but how the students have perceived it, and how the faculties are thinking about it and accepting it in a welcome or in a good way, that they should not feel relaxed also, because then it will delay the thesis again, which is already 3 to 5 years, and some PhDs go till 6 and 7 years, which is, I don't know what your thoughts are about it, but mostly what people believe, and especially talking about UK and Europe, there they are limited, that okay, in this time you have to finish your PhD and you go out, and you have already experienced it in Japan. But what are your thoughts about this time duration in India?
Yeah, so yes, the time duration, this is actually an old school thinking that many faculties think that you really need to work hard and 7, 8 years to deserve a PhD degree. I think that is a completely a wrong mentality,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, so it's something like a revenge. Whatever the experience which they went through, they want to do the same thing, but my advice, of course, yes, my advice to everybody is that, I mean, don't do that, So let the world be a better place to live, right? So towards that, small baby step towards a progression,
Mm-hmm.
you should not think about how hardship that you went through.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I have so many friends across different institutions. So some of them are saying that senior people are not letting them to have the complete lab in the initial few years of their faculty position. So they will have to be in their single room cabin, and then only after 5 or 6 years they will be allotted an independent lab. And the reason is that they went through the same struggle when they were young.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not system that we follow in Central University of Punjab. So initial recruitees also get a full-fledged lab,
Mm-hmm.
So that is something entirely different. So that's 7 years of the period. I mean, it could be 8 or 9 years. I don't think it is really a welcome move at all. So that is something obsolete. We really need to change it. And for me, the education, the purpose of PhD is training of mind to
Yes.
think.
Yes.
So the critical thinking is extremely important. PhD, the PH stands for philosophy, right? But that philosophy is kind of completely gone now. Right now, the PhD is all about paper publishing,
Yes.
impact factor, H index, and citation and paper. That's it.
Yes.
So we really need to bring back the philosophy essence into the PhD. And yes, so PhD should never be about paper publishing. You know, uh, Darwin, for example, a fantastic scientist,
Mm-hmm.
did he work because of some external pressure? Never.
Yes.
It's just out of his own curiosity, right? He simply explored his curiosity.
Yes.
So some students are naturally curious. Let them actually pursue it and, of course, get a fantastic paper. If it's their cup of tea, they should be encouraged to get quality papers. But if some students don't really are not inclined to the research, then let them actually at least let them learn
Yes.
how the things work in academia, and let them choose or let them change their let them migrate into the industry or whatever their dreams to be. Yeah.
Nice. I here I would like to just highlight, as Professor Felix said, let's bring the P of the PhD back. I really
Yes.
like that. An audience, for all of you, please go and get the life skills book published by Professor Felix. This will not give you only the things of what you are supposed to get, the skills, it will give you more of philosophy also. And go and get it, your copy. So, coming back to Professor, now, when people say that, okay, your experiments are not working, student is already under pressure. They have sometimes what we have seen in India recently is like they are quitting their PhD after 4 years or any number of years. They are taking steps which are like beyond even mentioning, like ending the life. This is the maximum anyone can do. They are doing it. How we can take this pressure out of a PhD? Because you mentioned very nicely that let's bring 1P back to
Yeah.
PhD philosophy. I feel,
Mm.
and I believe that most of the researchers feel, let's take 1P out of the PhD. Let's take out of the pressure. What you,
Exactly. Yes. So the mental pressure. Unfortunately, that is the case with many PhD students. I also changed my guide in Japan because of some issue, the personal issue. As you know, this PhD, your relationship with your supervisor has to be good, and it has to be professional, right?
yes.
It's basically like a dance, and there is a sync factor in it. And if you're not at all compatible, or if your supervisor is not professional, and yeah, I mean, a lot of factors in it, right? And if the person is for let us say one PhD student is he or she is depressed.
Mm-hmm.
So is it because of his or her laxity in work? It could be that, or it could be because of the supervisor.
Yes.
You know, so it's a two-way game, right? So I cannot simplify and I cannot pinpoint this is a solution or this is a problem. It's a case
Mm-hmm.
to case. Everything is different, right? So uh, in case you are one among those who think that it's completely stressful,
Mm-hmm.
so quitting is never a bad. For changing your guide, no problem at all. There should not be any pressure.
Yes.
You know, so rather than, I mean, if you compare that with a marriage, for example, suffering in a toxic relationship in
Mm-hmm.
which you're completely stressed versus a divorce,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, if you're traditional, at least here in India, divorce is like a big no.
Yes.
That will bring a big stress to your life. People think that way.
Mm-hmm.
There is a bias called impact bias.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to think that whatever the future events will be the impact of those events will be very high.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not the case. Studies repeatedly says that, if the marriage doesn't work, there is no point in, continuing that with both the partners suffering immensely.
Yes.
It's better gracefully separate, take
Mm-hmm.
your great ways.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that, if the PhD, if you think that your supervisor is unprofessional or very rude or not appreciating the kind of work that you do,
Mm-hmm.
or forcing you to forge the data, of course, that's highly unethical,
True.
or crossing the professional boundary and going into the personal space.
Yes.
So those are the red flags, right? Change it. Talk to your dean or a rector or whoever is in charge of HR department, for example, for harassment, or even police. Sexual harassment should directly deal with the police, never deal with your university system, because the university or institute will try to silence this
Mm-hmm.
thing, right? So if it is like that, then directly complain to the police. Extremely important. Okay. So yeah, so it is not like because I committed for doing a PhD, I have to complete that PhD.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think that,
Absolutely.
and make it completely free. And of course, there are struggles definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, so if there is an obstacle,
Mm-hmm.
so let the obstacle be a challenge. You see, so I sometimes I like to compare my own life or anybody's life with a video game.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you're playing a video game and if you win the level one,
Mm-hmm.
and then the second one will come, right? The difficulty level two. So if the level 2 difficulty level is just same as level 1,
Mhm.
how boring that game would be,
Yes.
right?
True.
So it's like more and more difficulty level, right? So there is, there is a passion, as you're saying. There is, yeah, that is the whole purpose of life, learning from the mistake and achieving something bigger than yourself. Yeah,
True. That was nice. So I would like to tell all of our viewers here that quitting is not bad, as Professor Felix said. Everyone appreciates if you are quitting smoke and alcohol, then why not this? If you have to quit this because you know that it is not good for your mental health, and that should be the first priority for everyone, especially in India. We do say, uh, uh, pratham sukh nirogi kaya. So which means that if you are healthy, that is the first what we say, that first happiness a person can get, that
exactly.
you should be healthy. And mental health is something which now we started talking about. And at Empowering Sense Foundation, if you feel that you can, if you are feeling the pressure, you can talk to us. And we have Professor Felix here, and we have some others, which they are always there to help you. You can either directly contact them if you feel, and you need not to be from the field. Okay, you can be from any other field. If you feel you should go and talk out, because talking solves most of the problem. Sometimes you might think that you are about to quit, but when you go and talk to your peers, and then you get the solution, and that's when the spark goes out and you are the best out of it. So it is, you have to give it a due, that is this really you have to do, or it is just a thing which can be bypassed by doing others. And here, for Professor Felix, one more thing I would like to say here, that a mentor is not someone who walks ahead of you. As he said, there were professors, there are faculties, there will always be, because human behavior doesn't change a lot. A professor, a mentor, not someone who walks ahead of you to show you how they did it. A mentor walks alongside you to show how you can do it. So we need more of Professor Felix with us. We need more of the mentors who take care of the kids as not their property, or not to punish them because they had bad experiences. We need the mentors who give the power to the wings of a student who just want to fly. So we are about to about at end of the conversation, Professor. So now here I would like to just briefly touch on the role of friends and family. Although you have started with that, but it is just the structure how the conversation goes here. So the role of friends and family in a researcher's life.
Yeah, so I was telling you about the German life. So yeah, in Germany, the family time and the time alone, or time outdoors are really spirited, right? So I think it is really important to be happy. So if I mean, you have to prioritize what makes you happy, right?
Yes.
And I think that's more important. So there is a book which I read a few years back about happy teacher habits.
Mm-hmm.
Very famous book. So it's all about how to become a better teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So, to become a better teacher, the best idea is to be happy. Prioritize your family and friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that all depends upon your life perspectives, right? So, I think it's really important. The social skill is important. It's not just your academic skill to climb the ladder of your professional success.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so empathy is extremely important, which is not really covered in any of the courses that you study in your school or in colleges, right?
Yeah.
Active listening is extremely important. I mean, the entire realm of soft skills are tremendously important. That is a theme of that book, the new book which I told you about, the life skills.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the family, friends are extremely important. I mean, that actually, uh, I mean, if you look at the countries and also people who live past 100 years,
Mm-hmm.
so something which is really common among those people, the longevity association is with how many friends you have, the real friends you have, or how close knit your family is,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think those are really something, and also the regret. that many people in their life, in their deathbed have, is that I wish, I devoted much more time towards my family.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something which is recurring all around the world, right? Because many people think that, okay, I mean, the work, prioritizing work is the most important thing, and work as uh, an identifier of your own persona. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's completely earned. You're living for social validation of your employer. That should not be your priority, you know?
Nice.
Yeah. So family is important,
Mm-hmm.
friends are important,
Mm-hmm.
and my advice, there is no advice, of course, but my piece of wisdom, what I would like to share with these youngsters who is watching is
Mm-hmm.
stay curious,
Yes.
right? The curiosity, the childlike curiosity is somehow that is what I found. I am quite active in outreach talks,
Mm-hmm.
so I interact with the students from all ages, right? So whenever I interact with the university students, the kind of questions they ask, they are, first of all, they're pretty shy.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of questions they ask is also very academic and quite boring.
Mm-hmm.
And the kind of questions that the young children ask is super interesting.
Yes.
One of the lady, I say, she's a very small girl. She's like a third grade girl, stood up in one of the library talk which I had in a rural library in Kerala.
Mm-hmm.
And she asked me a question that, uh, what is your opinion about ghost? My parents always say about ghost in the night. Are ghosts real?
Mm-hmm.
You know, simple question, ghost. Is it real or not? But that is really important, curious, and
Yes. Yes.
I mean, people don't even touch those things because they think that, okay, these are controversial. There's nothing harm in it. And that same after I asked that, I answered about my point. Then she asked me, "Do you believe in God?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Nature is God.
Yes.
You know, my God is nature."
Mm-hmm.
So be playful like kid.
Yes.
Never lose that childlike curiosity. And whatever the lab which I worked outside India, like in Japan or in the UK too,
Mm-hmm.
or Germany or the US, these legends. If you go to their lab, you will understand that the equipments are not just showpieces.
Mm-hmm.
They tinker, they play with that.
True.
They never just use it as it is, right? They cut open and they actually uh, do a lot of hacking. So that is a spirit. In the frontier of scientific research, ideas get challenged again and again. That
Nice.
is how the science make progress. It's just like a child. She's simply dissecting her robot.
Mm-hmm.
I hate gender stereotyping. That is why I'm telling you she, and I said robot because robot playing with a robot is kind of associated with a boy. I don't want that. So a girl playing with her robot, she can simply dissect to see what is inside. I used to do that always when I was young. That same curiosity, please, preserve it
Yes.
and stay curious throughout your lifetime.
True. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Professor, for your word of wisdom. Because at the end of the conversation, we always ask for word of wisdom, which you already did. Thank you very, very much for that. It was a pleasure having you on the platform and taking leverage. I would request to all our viewers and audience, whosoever wants to connect with Professor Felix, you can directly write to him. He is a great mentor. You will find all the answers you have. Okay. And we would like to thank Professor for taking time out and giving the word of wisdom and sharing your journey with us. And for all the viewers, we will see you all in another episode of Researcher Celebrity. Stay connected and go and talk out. And as Professor Felix said, keep the curiosity on. Thank you,
I
Professor.
have one last comment to you.
Yes.
The last comment is that I'm a misfit for this program, not a celebrity, researcher celebrity, not at all. And thanks for having me here. And my best wishes for this wonderful platform.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So now, just because you said that, so now we will add one thing. The idea behind Researcher Celebrity is to celebrate every researcher on the planet Earth. And if in future we found that research is happening outside Earth also, aliens are doing it, we won't mind
Yes.
having them. Just celebrating every researcher, because what I remember is that Neil Armstrong once said that research is creating new knowledge. And that is essentially what all of us are doing. So let's keep that going. And thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.